And that's why your trip to the Index is doomed to fail. Why are you orange? Ah, well, funny you should ask that. You see... Yes. Very interesting. Oh, if you think that's interesting, just wait till you see how I save our dojo from foreclosure. I told you, the Index would eat you for breakfast. It requires both skill and patience, two qualities with which you struggle immensely. Hey, my qualities don't struggle. I specifically choose to not be patient, but fine. You want to smack talk my plans, I don't need your help. Maybe if you weren't hyperfixated on pure power farming, you could actually get some credits in your pockets instead of just rocks. Your words are not without merit. Fine, do as you wish. I need to visit an old friend.
Oh, ladies, what's good?
Man, you know, I mean just... Man. I sort of knew that making videos on an ever-iterating game like Warframe meant a lot of what I said might one day get outdated, but I wasn't expecting it to happen in like a single week. It's fine though, it's chill. You see my face? Yeah, that's right. Unbothered. Completely. It's been a little more than a year since my last video on systematically squeezing as much extra loot out of this digital hamster wheel as my combination jailer, pit boss, and dopamine dealer will allow, and it doesn't look like there are going to be any more seismic gameplay adjustments to my Warframe and companion of choice anytime soon, so I think I'm ready. Let's go around the wheel one last time and show how Atlas, the champion of illiterate power scalers, can not just serve as a looting frame, but the best looting frame through the 1-2 punch of having one of the highest loot boosting rates in the game, while also being able to farm on the go at crazy speeds through tile sets. Oh yeah, also, this time around, there's literally like no setup or build-up required. You just pop one ability, and then you can start cracking skulls. You know that was a different member of my batch. I've come seeking your help, old friend. Yes, my old methods, they're failing me. I'm strong. I'm the strongest I can be, but that's all I have, and if that's all I have, I cannot reach true apotheosis. Okay, let's work through how every aspect of my last Atlas video got dismembered in chronological order. Now again, literally 1 week after my video showcasing Atlas, paired with multiple loot increasing companions, including the Cat of Infinite Wealth, Digital Extremes dropped Update 37. Kome and the 5 Fates, which rolled out a new Warframe, new game mode, and an extremely wide-reaching companion rework that saw the addition of claw weapons and a bunch of companion mods getting reworked. Tragically, Update 37 also saw the resource generation of the Smita Kavat's charm ability get reworked in a major way. No longer giving a potentially stacking multiplier to rare resources, but instead just giving you a single rare resource. This change, coupled with an increased chance to proc charm, made what is probably a better, more reliable version of the ability for everyday use. However, for the purposes of synergizing with the Resource Collector, yeah, the Gamba Kitty's down and out. Which is ironic, given the theming around this update. Alright, hey everybody, today we're gonna be rolling, Kome's dice. Let's do it.
Widow's eyes. Free yourself from the delusion.
Man, everything reminds me of her. So, Smita's out, something else is gonna have to come in to replace it. My first choice would be, of course, the ever-reliable Chessa Kubro. Probably the only Kubro subtype that hasn't been absolutely power-crept by cats, infested dogs, and robot birds. Chessas have access to Retrieve, a companion mod that lets them act like Necros and destroy an enemy corpse every 10 seconds with a 45% chance of extracting extra loot from it. This is straight up okay, but pairing Retrieve with one of the not at all confusingly named Retriever mods is what I think elevates the Chessa above other beast companions for farming. Remember like 2 minutes ago when I said that the Smita Kavat's ability to gamble was gone? That wasn't entirely true. You see, when DE lit the Smita's wax wings aflame, they stopped for a moment and thought, Wait a minute, having a chance to double resources is actually kinda sick, and bequeathed the Smeeta's shattered gambling powers to all beast companions in a diminished, more universally applicable form. Enter the Retriever mods. Loot boosting mods that focus on boosting resource income, credits, or a little bit of both. All of them are good, and I think Loyal Retriever definitely puts up more value than the other two, but as a dude who hasn't needed credits for the past 8 years, I am a resourceful Retriever purist.
Rest now, Vivi. He was a fine companion. It's unfortunate that he won't be able to help with what happens next. Of course not. He has served me well. I will take care of him. I've made a habit of caring for several pets already. He does not. And if you wish to keep that tail, he won't.
But for those of you that might not have a Chesakubro, or don't want to deal with babysitting a companion using health and armor in the health tanks all die meta, there's Sentinels. Thanks to spare parts and manifold bond, any Sentinel can become a resource printing machine, since, if you'll flash back to your signed reading in the Farm Max and Grind set, you should remember that Atlas's Ore Gaze is its own category of loot boosting, working alongside on-kill effects like spare parts. Spare parts also has an advantage over Retrieve due to it applying a loot bonus on death. Let me explain. Unlike every other looter frame that encourages you to sit in one place to process all of your enemies into loot, Atlas gets the most value out of moving forward from pack to pack of enemies. Because of this, you and your doggy are likely to leave the area before they can use Retrieve on every enemy body you created. But since spare parts marks nearby living, soon to be very, very dead enemies, it doesn't have this problem, and optimal looting is achieved. I waffled around in the last video on what Sentinel would actually work best with Atlas, but I have since come to a revelation. And to be honest, it's probably the Sentinel I expected the least. Hey, y'all remember the Oxylus? Yeah, that Oxylus. The Solaris Sentinel designed solely around open world gameplay that was so unbearably mid, DE decided to make it the only thing that could passively collect Silver Grove tonic plants to give it something to do? Yeah. This guy also got a huge glow up after Update 37. You see, Scan Matter, a precept mod that previously just revealed minerals and containers in a large area, got reworked and it still does that, alongside sniping any visible containers every 3 seconds and automatically dragging any drops from said containers directly to you. And since this effect also benefits from Manifold Bond, while you're killing large groups of enemies, your Sentinel will also be making sure you harvest every single container in the room. Behold, my companion builds. You can definitely mix and match a lot of mods to get something suited for your specific playstyle, and as long as you're using a Retriever mod and Retrieve, again, not confusing naming at all, DE, on your Chesakubro, and spare parts, Scan Matter, and Manifold Bond on your Oxylus, you're golden. Now the real meat and potatoes. Atlas himself. Believe it or not, our Bedrock Brawler also got some changes done since last video. Update 38.5 saw the Great Exalted Weapon modding rework, making pseudo-exalted weapons like Atlas's Landslide their own moddable weapons in your loadout, while also letting all melee exalted weapons equip and benefit from most melee mods and arcanes. After rigorous study in this previous video, I found that, yeah, Atlas's Landslide is not only easier to use and get maximum value out of, but it's actually even stronger now than it was thanks to its increased modding options and arcane support. And, you know, now seems as good a time to talk about it as any. Ore Gaze's loot cap. In the modding UI, that increased loot chance from Ore Gaze appears to scale infinitely with your power strength, with no actual limit. This has led to a bit of debate on whether or not the modding HUD is lying to you, and whether or not you're actually getting more than 100% increased drop chance on Atlas. And while I tried to test it out in my video, I may have immediately gotten a result that supported my hypothesis, said all signs pointed to me being right, and unceremoniously moved on. Which means... sorry guys, I accidentally spread misinformation on the internet. In a very well done video by Casey Oil Corner, bro actually adheres to the scientific principles and conducts a multi-step study using an Ore Gaze setup with multiple different power levels, above and below the amount needed to reach 100% loot drops, and found that while increasing your drop chance up to 100% does result in noticeable increases in loot received, anything beyond that shows no real increases. So, oops. Shout out Casey for being both smart and patient enough to go through all that testing, and I hope it can at least signal boost a little that, yeah, Atlas's Ore Gaze genuinely does top out at 100% extra loot drop chance, so there's no point in pushing your power strength further than 400%. Also, TE should really get around to fixing that tooltip. But hey, silver linings, this means I'm free to stop trying to cram as much power strength into my Atlas build as possible at the cost of all imaginable quality of life. So, with a newly reworked landslide punch, I set out with a new goal. If I couldn't max out my farm with any more raw power strength, I would find another way. After all, what's better than petrifying and dropping a room full of enemies to drop double their loot? Petrifying and dropping 2 rooms of enemies in the same amount of time. The first development that led me to this revelation was the addition of arcanes on exalted weapons. Landslide was already really strong after the exalted weapon rework, but strapping melee influence on there made it a borderline war crime. But you see, this led to the first of several necessary innovations to my build, because Nourish, my and literally everyone else's go-to subsume ability, adds so much extra viral damage with 400% power strength, it completely messes up the electric and gas procs I want to be getting with influence. This left me stumped. I tried to find another subsume ability to use instead. I tried Roar, I only tried Roar, and it showed me that I needed some form of energy generation to keep this build rolling without Nourish. And also, I found myself not really needing the extra damage from Roar or Nourish. Atlas's landslides kind of already deal an insane amount of damage with high power strength and a full set of mods, so I tried something new. I farmed Varuna. Okay, well I farmed a second Varuna exclusively to feed to my Helminth to unlock Lycat's Hunt, a very good ability for melee-focused frames that causes enemies killed by melee weapons, including exalted melees, to drop a health orb 50% of the time. With a duration that is extended by killing enemies affected by 5 or more statuses, this, combined with Equilibrium, results in quite literally infinite energy on Atlas. This means more landslides, this means petrifying every enemy you see. This even means you can have rumblers out all the time, for all the good they do. I don't think the footage I'm showing can convey just how good this new setup felt to run. Nourish Atlas can get rolling up to the point where he's an unstoppable, unkillable force, but building up to the point where Rubble Heap activates and you can just start punching can range from annoying to unbearable, depending on the enemy level and how good your teammates are at melting everything they see. But with Lycat's Hunt, you get more energy back from punching than you spend on punching. And then when you're in Rubble Heap, you can literally just spend all that energy petrifying every single enemy you see. It lets you play less deliberately. It makes everything faster, and whatever DPS I'm missing out on by not having a damaging subsume ability, I think it's made up for by the 100% punchy uptime. But then this got me thinking, what if we could go even faster? Increasing my cast speed was the natural first choice, and as a result, I scooped out just enough power strength to let me still get 400% while also letting me slot in natural talent. And like, oh my god, that extra 50% casting speed takes this build from insanely good to insanely good, but being able to cast Aura Gaze even faster between combos. Along with the speed and range boost we're already getting from Rubble Heap, it just goes even harder into keeping up this flow state of never needing to stop stoning and exploding enemies. So yeah, any more sudden massive shakeups to the fundamental systems of Warframe notwithstanding, here's my Atlas build. Steel Charge for more capacity and punch damage, Blind Rage, Power Drift, and 2 Umbral mods gives me just enough ability strength to reach 400%, and therefore 100% extra loot drop chance, when combined with Molt Augmented and 5 Tau Forged Crimson Archon shards. Hey, you gotta spend loot to make loot, am I right? Archon Stretch increases our punch and petrify range, and gives energy when I use Landslide, which isn't really necessary, but I admit, I like the orange color of the mod. And all that remains are our 2 load-bearing augments, Equilibrium to take advantage of Lycat's Hunt, and Natural Talent. For my last arcane, I like to use Arcane Battery, which gives energy that scales up with the armor increase we're getting from grabbing rubble. For the Landslide Fists that now mod separately from our melee weapon, I use the previously mentioned melee influence build. This is pretty bog standard overall, going for as heavy a weight to blast damage as possible, but since Landslide doesn't need attack speed or range mods, we swap those out for Weeping Wounds and Blood Rush. You'll remember that in my last Atlas video, I had this elaborate, fine-tuned loadout set to maximize Atlas's potential. That is absolutely not the case this time around, save for my secondary Epitaph Prime, which acts as a primer to both extend the duration of Lycat's Hunt and reset Sentinel cooldowns with Manifold Bond. I thought this was going to be a bit of a problem at first, since I find the concept of switching weapons, firing off your primer, and then switching back to your main damage dealer to be an actual form of psychological torture. But with Atlas, you're priming for an ability, so you can just keep your Epitaph in hand, click once on a group of enemies whenever your Lycat's Hunt is running low, and immediately go back to punching. The priming also helps with dealing more damage, naturally, but I'm Atlas with 400% power strength. The list of things that survive one punch from this loadout could fit on the back of my hand. Would you look at that? Here's the build. Nothing particularly special, just maximizing status chance and elemental damage types, while also using secondary encumber, which has been much easier to get ever since the Valis Undermine dropped. What? Primary? Melee? I don't know. Use what you like. I'm using the Vinquibus because I like it. You're not going to be using them too much. Don't worry about it. And there you have it. My completed, reworked, peer-reviewed, repackaged, and free-range Atlas farming build designed to get maximum efficiency out of Orgaze while having copious amounts of quality of life to be as simple and straightforward to use as possible. I find that this build is sleek enough to use in basically any content, not just when I need some extra resources. I've also been using Atlas in new expansion areas since Orgaze also counts as a codex scanner for all the new enemy types. But you know what? What if we went back to where this all started? One last time. In an effort to present a more baseline, quantifiable representation of my performance, I did 3 separate half-hour survival runs at Gabby on Ceres, while using both resource boosters. Last time I did this mission for a video, I managed to scrounge up 45 Orokin cells, a resource that becomes increasingly devalued to me as I stack hundreds upon hundreds in my inventory. But let's play a game. By choosing to stick just at 400% power strength while also prioritizing ability uptime and casting speed, how much do you think my Orokin cell yield benefited? 10% extra? 25% extra? Try almost double. Yeah, your monitor's not broken. That's 74 Orokin cells from 30 minutes of grinding. My repeat runs showed similar and even slightly better statistics. 76 cells on run 2 and freaking 80 on the 3rd. Now, while I could plot this on a chart and say that if I keep doing runs, I'll eventually make infinite cells in 0 seconds, the scientifically responsible thing to do is average the 3 values together for our mean cell value for 30 minutes grinding. 76.66. Repeating, of course. So that's just dandy. The method works. If I can't farm harder than 100% extra drop chance, I'll just farm faster. It's also really fortunate I procrastinated on doing this video until after the old piece dropped, because now that Honoria exists, I have something to spend all these cells on. Cheers, Roth.
I used to be powerful, yet slow as a mountain. But now I'm something faster, more deadly, Sure, a boulder. Whatever. Now there's still the matter of... Huh?
Buddy, it's bad. It's really, really bad. I just wanted credits, man. I don't think it was that crazy of a thing. I mean, we live in a material society. Wanting money doesn't necessarily make me a bad person, but there's...
Vault! There's a what?
There's a dragon. Man, look, I know you're probably mad at me, but could you at least let Wisp know where I am so someone can drag my half-dead body back?
I'm there. Give me an hour. Duty calls. Psh, my strength is my own, but nobody gets to rough up that walking battery except for me.
And scene. I'm not sure if I just have Stockholm Syndrome from going over every aspect of this single frames kit for several years with a fine-tooth comb, but I found that there's even potential setups for Atlas that don't rely on farming with Orgaze. Even Rumbled has a place in Atlas's kit, but I won't tell you what it is, out of spite. I really hope this build lasts longer than a week before the Warframe fundamentals I spent so long stressing over get drastically altered, but hey, that's life. Overall though, I think Atlas is in a much better place than he was in 2024. The changes to how his fists work made him a lot more accessible and easy to understand, while still keeping his very high power ceiling. Gotta say, it's been fun spending hundreds of man-hours stressing over a single Warframe, but my hope is that next year I can branch out into even more weird and wacky aspects of Warframe. Although if I did have to deep dive into another Frames kit, I mean, well, Limbo and Banshee are right there. No, forget any of that. I hope you all enjoyed this last video of the year. It's continued to be a very insane time having people actually watch and engage with my content, and I don't think I'll ever get used to being recognized when I load into a random Warframe mission, but it always makes me smile. Alright, enough sappiness. I'll see you guys next year. Peace!